Mr. Puryear.
Of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I welcome this opportunity to address the council. My name is Eugene Puryear. I'm a resident of Ward 8, and I'm also an at-large council candidate for the Statehood Green Party. You have my testimony in front of you. I want to just try to summarize with 4 relatively quick points because I think a lot has been said. I think ultimately when we look at this deal, and I am in opposition to the Soccer Stadium Development Act of 2014, I think that ultimately it is not just an issue of city tax money versus private money from the owners themselves, even though I do believe that the private owners of DC United could come up with these funds, but the broader issue of what DC United, the league, is attempting to do. And you see all across the country, whether it's the Timbers or the Galaxy, the team in Houston, the teams in the MLS are attempting to get into smaller stadiums that are more cost effective and that increase the viability of the league, thus making the league more profitable, making it more attractive, having more momentum, which brings in more television deals and things of that nature. So we're not really just being asked to subsidize DC United, we're really being asked to subsidize the profitability of Major League Soccer from the point of view of their broader league-wide business plan. And as a league, DC United, with some of its owners, and you know all about that, including the former Ted Anschutz, I think quite frankly should be bearing the cost of these new stadiums proposals that are happening around the country and bearing the cost of these smaller stadiums, not the taxpayers. I'll go forward to also mention that we have seen, and it was testified to earlier, that the academic literature bears out that almost in many of these cases, the so-called proposed benefits from the point of view of tax revenue and other things brought in by the city are just that, proposed and hypothetical, and in fact almost always turn out to be less. And I think that's important to keep in context here, because quite frankly, it's one thing to come out to a hearing like this and say, well, we're going to give you this and this $100 million, that $100 million, but ultimately the actual research about these things bears out that they are often not true. And my final point here that I want to end up with, and maybe try to sneak one more in, is I think it's extremely unfair to present this as a zero-sum game. Well, either we build this stadium for DC United or there will be no development at Buzzard Point. I mean, this is an area of the city that is one of the hottest and really wedged in between 2 of the hottest developing areas inside of Washington, D.C., and very close to the Southwest waterfront, which is really the biggest development right now happening in Washington. And I think it's really absurd to suggest if this stadium is not built that there will be no other use for Buzzard Point, and it'll sit as a blight on the city, as a scar, as one person said, for, in perpetuity into the future. I think, quite frankly, there are many other things we could do, especially if we are able to sell the Reeves Center at market value and perhaps use that money in a different way. And the final piece I'll say is there was a lot said about the capping of the costs for the city at $150 million, but quite frankly, I believe that the tax revenue that the city will forego in the first 5 years in regard with this should really be appended to that, and we should be considering that as well a cost to the city, not just the construction cost. Thank you very much.